In this video, we will be going over some of the features and functions that are available within the dplyr package in the tidyverse set of packages. The first thing we want to do is we want to load tidyverse after we have installed it. As you can see, by executing that line, I have loaded tidyverse. In fact, I had tidyverse already loaded up, which is why I don't find the listing of packages indicating that it has loaded them, because these packages have already been loaded. One of the most important features of the dplyr package is its ability to create workflows. Workflows are created through the use of the percentage greater than percentage sign, and this is known as the pipe operator. The purpose of the pipe operator is to take data and move it through a workflow by passing it from one function to another function. This applies to all of the functions and packages that are present in tidyverse. To get a sense of that function, let us look at how we might read data and, for instance, perform a gather operation using the tidyr package without the pipe operator. If I wanted to read data in, let's use the data CO2 per capita. And if one takes a look at the data file CO2 per capita.csv, I see that it is present in wide form and not necessarily in long form. So let's call this CO2 PC using the read_CSV function that's present in the reader package. I can read CO2 per capita_CSV. Please keep in mind that this needs to be in quotes, and once I run that, I find CO2 PC. I have a table that's 4 by 42, 4 rows by 42 columns. This is data that is present in the wide format. If one wants to convert this data into the long format, one has to use the gather function that's part of the tidyr package. And so if one wants to do that, here's how one would. I'm going to keep the data frame the same. I'm going to still call this CO2 PC. And I want to take the gather function, and the gather function is going to be run on CO2 PC. And I am going to say gather all the columns but the country column. So I'm going to say minus country, where the key column is equal to year and the value column is equal to CO2 per capita. Once I run this, I can then take a look at what CO2 PC looks like, and we see that our wide form data has gone to long form data. This is how we would typically have done this, but what dplyr allows us to do is to use the pipe operator to take some of these functions and take the results of these functions and pass them on to subsequent functions. And here's how one can do that. Using the pipe operator for the above example, I can say CO2 PC is going to store the result of the read_CSV function, where I'm reading from CO2 per capita.csv. The result of this reading is going to give me wide form data. I am going to take this wide form data and use this pipe symbol. This pipe symbol again is composed of 3 symbols: the percentage operator, the greater than sign, and the percentage operator. Those 3 symbols comprehensively form the pipe operator. So I type out all three and say the result of this read.csv is piped to the gather function. And in this gather function, what I'm going to do is I am going to not select the country column. I'm going to say that the key is equal to year and the value is equal to CO the CO2 per capita. And when I run this, we see that there is a reading happening. We don't see the result of the gather function, but all I have to do is to type out head of CO2PC, and we see that we have country, year, and CO2 per capita, and so the data has been read in and has been piped or sent to the gather function to perform what the gather function was going to do, and the result of that is now stored in CO2PC. This is how the pipe operator can be employed to take the results of one function, move it along, and pass it to another function to create a workflow.